Obviously, going hand in hand with the fact that I'm a big music fan, I also have really enjoyed video games ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old. About as long back as I can recall, I have been playing video games. So one of my favorite hobbies, and a lot of video games have meant a lot to me, and a lot of that has to do with the soundtracks associated with them. So in this video, what I wanted to do is go through some of my favorite video game soundtracks. It could be for quite literally any reason. It could just be they resonated with me. It could be I think they're a fucking bop, they fit the game really well, or the game was very impactful to me. And obviously down below you can let me know not only your opinions of my list, as well as your favorite video game soundtracks. I can't wait to hear what picks you guys have. And I will say, just as a little preface, a lot of my favorite games oftentimes fall in the RPG or JRPG format, so you're gonna see a lot of that. I will get that out of the way. Starting off with Undertale. Undertale is one of those games that have such a diverse soundtrack that I love all around. So I've used the Ruins and Shop theme in my videos for a long time, back when I used background music, obviously. I think it's the perfect blend of like chiptune, 8-bit sort of stuff, as well as synthesizer music. It has some very emotional moments. His theme is one of my favorite pieces in any video game, period. I absolutely love all of the variations of it, and the story itself just really hit me hard. I love Undertale, the fandom's really cool, and the first time I played it, I think everyone remembers the first time they played Undertale, regardless of what route you decided to go on. Ori and the Blind Forest is a stunning soundtrack, absolutely beautiful game as well. If you want a game that is a bit off the beaten path and I think doesn't get the love it actually deserves a lot of times, holy shit. Like, some of the ending themes for Ori and the Blind Forest and a lot of the stuff near the start of the game are stunning, and considering how pretty the game is, it's a very atmospheric design in terms of the visuals. The levels are just pristine, they're gorgeous. I don't know what else to say, like, this game is just stunning. It's serene when it needs to be, it's tranquil when it needs to be, but it's also very epic and cinematic when it needs to be, and this whole story just has a very good punch to it. Layers of Fear is my favorite horror game. I've always said that when it comes to psychological horror and horror in general, Layers of Fear knocks it out of the park. I love this game because the soundtrack really does reflect the insanity of it. Basically, the psychosis the lead goes through in this game and how it's reflected in the soundtrack through all of these like distorted keys and really ominous, eerie, atmospheric piano pieces. Not only is it scary, but it's also tense. Like, it feels very urgent and it feels like something bad's about to happen, and the sort of thorough line throughout this entire game and it just going down this level of insanity more and more is a perfect mixture of very kind of minimalist pieces, but then these swelling compositions that just feel like you are on the verge of completely losing your mind, and that's the exact state that the lead is in, so it makes sense. Cuphead's one of my favorite examples of a game that the soundtrack feels like it's perfect and the game is almost built around the soundtrack. Cuphead is a fantastic game. I think everyone knows that Cuphead is phenomenal. It is amazingly made. The boss design, the level designs, everything about it, the aesthetic, it's so fun. And I think what I enjoy is they pull from a lot of the cultures and time periods that any given boss sort of falls under, and there's a lot of attention to detail put to making it feel in line with that specific boss. So as opposed to just having like a general soundtrack for the whole thing that sort of flows together, each individual area and each individual boss pops into life in this colorful way, and Cuphead is a very colorful and vivid game, so it makes sense why it would be that, but I just love how much care and love was put into each individual boss. Spectral Force Genesis is a tactics strategy game on the Nintendo DS that really hit me close to home when I was growing up. It was one of my favorite games in this genre and a really underrated gem, and the soundtrack is just very cool. It feels like wartime, but not in like a Call of Duty way. It feels more like an anime almost, like it's very anime inspired in how it approaches it, and I think that when it comes to fitting the theme, it's always stuck out to me, and I think it's just because I sunk so much time into this game. Hero Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and Heroes of Might and Magic 5. So one of my favorite game series of all time, and anyone who knows me knows that I could talk about this fucking series for so long. I could make an entire video about it. Heroes of Might and Magic and the Might and Magic series in general, one of my favorite series, definitely up there in like my top 5, if not 4 or 3. Heroes of Might and Magic is another sort of strategy-based game that is based around like conquering different kingdoms with campaigns and stuff like that, raising troops, getting resources and stuff like that. I think this is a huge nostalgia thing for me. I don't necessarily think that the soundtracks are like the most awe-inspiring, but some of those soundtracks just hit, especially for 5 in the campaign. They can be very emotional, but most of the time they're just epic. They get you in the mood. They feel like very fitting for the genre itself. And I think all of the Might and Magic games and Heroes of Might and Magic really fit for me. Clash of Heroes is also up there, which that was just sort of taken from other Might and Magic games, namely 5 in terms of the soundtrack. I just love this series, and I'm so happy that a new one is coming out this year. Bravely Default took everything that I loved about classic Final Fantasy and Square Enix games and brought it into the mainstream nowadays. I think that a lot of modern Final Fantasy has kind of missed the mark in terms of servicing that itch of the early games, and that's something that always kind of made me sad, because I'm an OG Final Fantasy fan. I love a lot of the original games, like 3 and 4 are very nostalgic for me, and I'll get into some other Final Fantasy games soon, but Bravely Default for me is like, it is just peak perfect JRPG music. I don't know how else to word it. Like, everything from the really sweltering, high-octane battle themes, as well as some of the more emotional and minimalistic things, as well as the special themes. If you're a fan of like the classic turn-based 4-party member system, like saving the world with crystals and bosses and stuff, and kind of cheesy and campiness of like early JRPGs and Final Fantasy games, please God, check out the Bravely Default series. It is really great. A Final Fantasy game that doesn't get a ton of love and I never hear anyone talk about is Revenant Wings. This was on the DS and it was a spin-off of Zodiac Age, and as a result of that, a lot of the songs are from Zodiac Age, so this is kind of going hand in hand with Zodiac Age, but they chipped away and tweaked and changed some of the soundtracks for it. This is a hidden gem on the DS. If you potentially have a DS or 3DS, or you have like an emulator, I heavily suggest checking out Revenant Wings. It is a great story, great way of fleshing out all of the characters from Zodiac Age and also introducing new things into the story and series that weren't really present prior. This is another one kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic that I put so much time into growing up, and I could go back to this anytime and like be so nostalgic for it. It's also a very fucking difficult game, so if you end up playing it, it will kick your ass. I'm just saying that. What do I even say about World of Warcraft? So this is my game. Like, this is just straight up my game. I have probably spent upwards of 1,000+ hours or more on this game. I have played it since like 2007. I still play it to this day. It has followed me through literally every single stage of my life, and it is one of those soundtracks that I can't really point at one specific thing and say, yeah, this is the soundtrack, because it has had so many expansions, so many patches, so many zones, so many dungeons, so many raids. Like, there are so many amazing World of Warcraft soundtracks, and whether you're talking about zones or a specific raid, every single expansion has had just incredible soundtracks. And even though the quality of WoW has kind of went down throughout time, I think the one thing that has never faltered is both the design of things graphically and specifically the soundtrack department. They have always popped their pussy into making just amazing soundtracks, and specifically like Burning Crusade through Miss of Pandaria are the most nostalgic for me, and the ones that I go back to and listen to just on my own time a lot because they're just peak. I don't know what to say, but yeah, WoW's my child. Like, WoW's my baby. Next up, Hoshigami Ruining Blue Earth. This is a Fire Emblem type strategy game where you have like specific characters and units that can die permanently if they end up dying in battle. It is very Fire Emblem-esque if you are a fan of that sort of style. And I don't have a ton to say about this. This is just a soundtrack that when I was making this video, I was like, yeah, this kind of sticks out. I mean, most of this video is just about recommendations. I'm not really going that in depth of like each individual soundtrack and each individual game. I'm just sort of recommending games and soundtracks for you guys to check out, but love this soundtrack to death. Similarly, Children of Mana, I don't think this is going to be a surprise for anyone that is fond of or is aware of the Mana series, like the Of Mana series. They always have this really whimsical sort of edge to it, but also feel very RPG and Japanese inspired. I really love Children of Mana. It's my favorite soundtrack of the Mana series, and I remember the first time I loaded into it and I heard that like starting theme, I was like, this is about to be peak, and lo and behold, it was peak.
知るたびにきっと人は強くなれるから僕は
Suikoden Tierkreis is my favorite solo game outside of WoW, like in terms of single player. Suikoden Tierkreis is part of a series called Suikoden, and this is a spin-off. This is like a standalone game. This is the solo game that I have absolutely spent the most amount of time on. I have done so many playthroughs of this game. It has so much love to give. If you want an RPG, like a JRPG that I think is just so slept on when it comes to like the DS timeline, please look into this game. It's incredibly long, has a ton of incredible characters, it's fully voice acted, it has anime style cutscenes in it, and the soundtrack is just incredible. There are so many things, everything from the opening to some of the areas, and like, it is insanely nostalgic for me. I can listen to this soundtrack and be taken back so quickly. It is an incredible game, it's my favorite game, and I will never shut up about it. Final Fantasy X. So, in my opinion, this is the best Final Fantasy soundtrack. And personally, I haven't gone through every single Final Fantasy soundtrack enough to like say if it is the best overall, but it is the best for me based on the ones I have heard. So, Final Fantasy X, one of the best Final Fantasy games ever created, incredible cast, incredible story, incredible combat. It is one of the best like combinations of everything that makes Final Fantasy important and cool and interesting and exciting, and for me, I think a lot of that comes down to how great the soundtrack is. Like, I don't think I need to tell anyone that 10 is just peak in terms of the soundtrack. It is the perfect blend of very urgent, cinematic sort of combat themes, as well as very beautiful, sad, emotional pieces to Xanarkand, one of my favorite Final Fantasy songs of all time. Like, that opening in general, with them sitting around the campfire, and it's like, this might be my last chance, might be our last chance, like, holy shit, it is incredible. Like, Final Fantasy X, I don't think I need to like convince anyone about Final Fantasy X, it is just amazing. Kingdom Hearts 3582 Days, or 358 over 2 days. No one knows how to pronounce this ever. This is my favorite Kingdom Hearts game. I like the Kingdom Hearts series a lot. I think it has some low points, and I think a lot of the timeline gets a little bit wonky and kind of annoying in how they produced it, but this game is really, really, really good in the series, and I don't think enough people talk about it enough. Very emotional ending as well, very punchy characters, like the main leads, like the Roxas, Axel, Gion trio, so emotional. Like, it really got to me, and I think the soundtrack played a huge role in that. Square Enix always are great at making great music, so I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that a Square Enix game has good soundtracks, because there's a lot of Square Enix games on this list, and I am a whore for that, I can't lie. But this Kingdom Hearts game and the routine of it all, it really made me happy. Like, I love this game. Valiant Hearts the Great War is just a quick little shout out for a game in general that I recommend people play, and a big deal of that is the soundtrack. I think it is a great wartime story that plays more in like an episodic nature and puts you into the role of situations that you maybe don't usually think about, and it has what you would expect from like a war type of soundtrack. It definitely lives up to that, but it also goes hand in hand with some very emotionally evocative pieces that hit me close to home, especially near the end of the game, and I think the piano is just very pretty on this soundtrack. Rabbit and Steel has been a big game I've been playing for a while. Ever since it came out, I've spent almost like 100 hours on this game. It is Toho-esque if you're familiar with that, but it takes like the Toho experience and makes it more so just boss after boss wave with like items and different classes that you do and characters and all of that. If you want a very difficult game that is going to rage bait you but has like a banger soundtrack, check out Rabbit and Steel. Nights in the Nightmare is a really underrated strategy game. It is kind of somewhat similar to like a Fire Emblem game where you have units, but it is more centered around like ghosts and dead people and these soldiers, and you're like unlocking their stories through key items, and that enables you to be able to either recruit them or like use them in specific battles. This is a very macabre game. It's a very dark and morbid game. There's not necessarily that much to say about this game in terms of happiness. It is very lonesome and dejected, and I think the soundtrack really does kind of confirm that. Like, the opening is very haunting and it always sticks with me. But yeah, please play Nights in the Nightmare. Highly recommend it. Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Black and White. So Diamond was my very first Pokemon game, and my first game I ever played. I got it around my 5th birthday, and that was when I got a Nintendo DS for the first time. And ever since then, Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum have just been my love. Like, I am a Gen 4 lover through and through. That is my hype. That is my hype. That is my generation. If you ever want to know what Pokemon generation I like, I'm a Gen 4 fan and I'm a Gen 5 fan. And on top of that, Black and White I think is a very underrated soundtrack. Those two are just not only so hype, but just so nostalgic for me. Like, some of the root themes I've used in videos before, as well as like the Elite Four theme. I think Black and White has one of the best Elite Four themes, and I think a lot of people don't talk about that enough. I love a lot of the Pokemon soundtracks, obviously, but those just stick out to me. And finally, wrapping up with yet another Square Enix game, I will just say Final Fantasy IV. This is probably the most nostalgic for me outside of 10. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. It's definitely classic, and I think the story is a tad dated, but it has a lot of heart and spirit to it, and the soundtrack to me is like so great. I love the 3D remake as well, so if you're gonna play 4 and if you want to look into the soundtrack, I do suggest checking out the 3D remake more than I do the original, just because I think it takes the original and it just improves on it in practically every way that it possibly could have been improved on. And that will wrap up this list of some of my favorite video game soundtracks. You can let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts of mine as well as your own. I would love to hear it. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.